Negara.
PM assures unity government is strong, stable and united. No Malaysians involved in Narakiwat's warehouse explosion. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm Mohana Priya and you're watching Updates at Noon. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the Madani framework not only focuses on the problem-solving process but also on values to build good morals. Datuk Seri Anwar said the Madani framework is the best way to build a better society, especially among the younger generation. According to the Prime Minister, Madani is not only about sustainability, innovation, respect, trust and compassion, but it also underlines philosophy, values and integrity in terms of building good morals. The Malaysia Madani concept, which he introduced officially on 19th January, is based on 6 pillars, namely sustainability, prosperity, innovation, respect, trust and compassion. While thanking the founder and president of Yaqeen Institute for Islamic Research, Dr. Omar Sulaiman, for delivering his Madani lecture, Datuk Seri Anwar said Dr. Omar is a young intellectual and activist that every society needed. Earlier, Prime Minister and his wife, Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail, joined about 120 congregants to perform the Maghrib prayer, led by the Imam of the Tuanku Mizan Zainal Abidin Mosque, Muhammad Hazri Othman, before spending about an hour for a knowledge-sharing session with Omar. On another matter, Prime Minister assured that the unity government, which is a coalition of 19 parties, is currently strong, stable and difficult to be toppled. Datuk Seri Anwar, who is also the Pakatan Harapan chairman, said that cooperation and unity among all leaders, including members of the cabinet, has grown since its formation in November.
Kita solid sudah. Tak usah gebang nak harap Nabi Ali lah. Susah harapan kamu. Kerana kita kuat dalam keadaan sekarang. Alhamdulillah. Ya. Jangan dengar lah dia. Saya ambil Ali bulan November. Ketua PAS kata 3 bulan saja. Saya kata dia dapat modal mana. Dia walaupun kita confident tapi mana tahu kan. Dia dapat 3 bulan. Tak, bulan ni. Sebelum puasa tak jadi juga. Lepas saya tak jadi juga. Sidang parlimen akan datang, saya beritahu bawa usul. Kalau ada usul PAS bersatu, ada undi, bawa usul. Saya tidak akan sekat.
On the Selangor state election, Datuk Seri Anwar expressed hopes that voters are able to make the smart decision to elect candidates from parties that committed to eradicate bribery practices, power abuse, as well as had a proven track record in developing the state. Prime Minister said this in a speech at the Ceramah Arus Merah Kuning in Subang Bestari last night, while introducing 2 Pakatan Harapan candidates, Muhammad Khairuddin Othman for Paya Jaras constituency and Muhammad Izwan Ahmad Kasim for Kota Damansara. Also present was PKR Selangor Chairman Datuk Seri Amiruddin Shari. The Malaysia Communication and Multimedia Commission (MCMC), PDRM and Election Commission will ramp up surveillance on social media platforms to ensure that no violations were made during the campaigning period. Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadil said everyone must respect the country's law regardless of platforms or mediums.
Saya sedikit risau sebelum ni tentang dalam media sosial. Itu antara sebab kenapa saya mengusahakan pertemuan dengan Tan Sri Ketua Polis Negara dan juga pihak SKMM supaya ada pemantauan yang jitu, yang sentiasa sepanjang tempoh pilihan raya negeri. Kita dapati pada PRU ke-15 dulu, jumlah konten yang dimuat naik dalam media sosial yang bersifat perkauman ataupun mengadu domba itu terlalu banyak. Hampir 100,000 itu yang dilaporkan.
He said this at the nomination centre for 3 state constituencies under Selayang parliamentary seat yesterday. The state election campaigning period provides opportunities for candidates contesting to deliver their message to the voters. Political analyst Dr. G. Manimaran said the candidates must be prudent in delivering their message and also preserve their integrity during this period. According to him, although Malaysia practices democratic election system, the well-being of the country must always be prioritised.
Dah sampai 60 tahun kita merdeka.
Ya.
Dan 15 pilihan raya, tak lama lagi 16 ke. Dan saya kata semua tadi awal ni, kematangan.
Ya.
Bukan saja rakyat, tetapi ahli-ahli politik yang calon yang aktor-aktor politik walaupun tak bertanding bila berkempen, ini masa untuk bertindak secara berhemah.
Ya.
Kita ni dah masyarakat negara demokrasi. Besok satu lagi kita kata dalam politik ni dalam Malaysia kita nampak tak ada musuh, tak ada kawan yang kekal. Dulu musuh, hari ini jadi kawan. Hari ini kawan, besok jadi musuh. Kita dah nampak gitaran dan sejarah menunjukkan di depan kita hari ini. So kalau dalam keadaan itu, bagaimana kita nak menjadi lahirkan pemimpin wakil rakyat, pemimpin ahli politik wakil rakyat yang berhemah.
He said this when met for the Narrative Huss program in TV1. According to him, a harmonic election environment will provide good image to investors, which will in turn provide a positive impact to the country's economy. The Ministry of Health, MOH, has approved appeals for transfer for 332 medical officers throughout the country, and these MOs are required to report for duty on the 31st of July. According to Health Minister Dr. Zaliha Mustafa, among appeals considered were for medical officers who made appeals to pursue specialization studies in their respective profession, those who faced serious family problems, and for security reasons.
Jumlah rayuan yang kita terima agak banyak juga ya. Sebanyak 1,843 rayuan yang kita telah perolehi daripada pegawai-pegawai yang telah mendapat penempatan ya. Jadi apa yang berlaku sebenarnya rayuan-rayuan itu kita adalah kementerian yang mengambil kira kemaslahatan dan keperluan yang daripada petugas-petugas kita juga ya. Jadi rayuan-rayuan itu diambil kira.
She added the appeals were approved on 27th June and 24th July after reviewing appeals from 1,843 of the 4,155 medical officers who were offered permanent positions. The placement this time will be made via a system and a need of medical officers to choose their placement because the disparity between contract officers and permanent officers can be high in a number of states, and to give medical officers a fair opportunity to choose their placements. Coming up next on the foreign front, death toll from capsized boat in the Philippines rises to 27. But first, no Malaysians were reported to have been involved in the explosion at a warehouse in the district of Narathiwat in Thailand yesterday evening. The Foreign Ministry, through a statement, informed that according to initial reports, the explosion took place at a warehouse storing fireworks and firecrackers, causing the death of 9 people and 114 others injured. The Malaysian General Consulate in Songkhla is working closely with the local authorities to stay updated on the latest developments surrounding the incident. Malaysian citizens who require any form of help on the matter can contact the Malaysian General Consulate in Songkhla through the number shown on the screen. The Foreign Ministry will also provide the latest information on the incident from time to time. Narathiwat Governor Sanan Pongasorn earlier reportedly said that the explosion at 3:30 p.m. happened at the Mundok Market, a popular shopping destination for Malaysians. The Philippine authorities are reporting the death toll from the sinking of an overcrowded passenger boat in Laguna de Bay of Rizal Province on Thursday has risen to 27. The accident occurred as Typhoon Doksuri passed through the region, bringing strong winds and torrential rain. According to authorities, a total of 43 passengers have been rescued so far. The Philippines Coast Guard has sent at least 12 divers to the scene, but continuing rain and murky waters are posing significant challenges to search and rescue efforts. Hostilio Arturo Cornelio, PCG District NCR Central Luzon Commander, said local boats normally cover the sides of their boats in plastic sheeting to block rain and waves, and this may have stopped passengers from escaping the boat when it started to capsize. The PCG said the boat, which has a maximum capacity of 42, was obviously overloaded and passengers were not wearing life vests. The official said there are no bodies trapped inside the cabin, and the Coast Guard will search the nearby waters for at least 3 days.
Senegal's opposition leader Ousmane Sonko was charged on Saturday with plotting an insurrection, criminal conspiracy and other offences, 2 months after his trial for a separate rape charge sparked deadly riots across the country. Now, Sonko, 49, was handed a 2-year prison sentence on the 1st of June for immoral behaviour towards individuals younger than 21, leading to protests in which at least 16 people were killed.
His followers have been angered by the prospect that his conviction could bar him from standing in next year's presidential election. The lawyers say the issue is ambiguous. Sonko was detained on Friday following a scuffle with security forces stationed outside his home, who he claimed were filming him without permission. He remains in custody, state prosecutors said on Saturday. Sonko denies wrongdoing, while his legal team could not be immediately reached for comment.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro's son, Nicolas, was arrested on Saturday on charges of money laundering and illicit enrichment in a scandal linked to Petro's election campaign. Colombia's first leftist president wrote on Twitter that police arrested his son and the son's ex-wife, Daisuris Vasquez.
Security agents arrested Nicolas Petro, 37, and Vasquez in the coastal city of Barranquilla and brought them to the capital, Bogota, where prosecutors said they were secured under heavy guard at a bunker awaiting a court hearing. In March, in an interview with the magazine Semana, Vasquez alleged that Nicolas Petro received large amounts of money from drug traffickers and smugglers in 2022 for his father's ultimately successful presidential campaign. But instead, the younger Petro used it to live in luxury in Barranquilla. Petro vowed to stay out of the legal proceedings involving his son. Prosecutors confirmed the arrest of Nicolas Petro on charges of money laundering and illicit enrichment. Since the scandal broke, President Petro has denied receiving money from the country's powerful cocaine lords. He himself had asked that his son to be investigated.
Russian President Vladimir Putin on Saturday defended an unprecedented crackdown on dissenting voices in Russia at a time of armed conflict with Ukraine, urging everyone to follow certain rules. This week, Russian authorities detained prominent sociologist Boris Kagarlitsky, 64, and accused him of calling for terrorism online.
In speaking to reporters in Moscow, the Russian president said while Russia is engaged in an armed conflict with a neighbor, there should be a certain attitude towards people who harm their cause from inside the country. In May, a Moscow court ordered the arrest of theater director Yevgenia Berkovich, 38, on charges of justifying terrorism over a play about Russian women recruited online to marry terrorists in Syria. Putin, however, said he did not know who Kaligastri and Berkovich were. Criticism of Moscow's offensive in Ukraine has been outlawed, and most prominent members of the liberal opposition are either in jail or in exile. Last week, authorities detained former separatist commander and nationalist blogger Igor Girkin on accusations of extremism after he criticized Putin.
Still to come, the Red Giants stumble in Southern Tigers' hunting ground. That and more in the sports segment. Kicking off our sports segment today, Johor Darul Takzim JDT continue their dominance in the Super League after beating Selangor 2-0 at their home ground last night. With this win, JDT extend their perfect run in the season to 18 matches without ever losing once. New striker Habiti Fernandez enjoyed a dream debut when he opened the account for JDT in the 79th minute. Bergson da Silva's goal from the penalty spot in injury time then killed off the game for the Red Giants. Selangor took to the field without the services of Mohammad Faisal Halim, who is serving a 1-month suspension, and almost became the first team to steal a point from the Southern Tigers when they kept JDT at bay for a long time. The Southern Tigers now just need 3 more wins from the remaining 8 matches to clinch the title for an unprecedented 10th consecutive time. With the win, coach Esteban Solari's JDT topped the 14-team Super League standings with 54 points from 18 matches to go 14 points clear of second-placed Selangor. Selangor last defeated JDT way back in August 2017, winning 2-1, but the Red Giants have since lost 12 times and drawn 3 against the Southern Tigers in all Malaysia League competitions. Despite being considered the favourites, Oman will not underestimate the opponents, including the Harimau Malaya squad, in the World Cup qualifiers starting in November. Oman national team director Walid Al-Numani said the teams drawn in Group D of the second round of the 2026 World Cup 2027 Asian Cup qualifiers have a balanced chance of advancing further. He said the performance of almost all national teams is also improving at the moment, and each team has developed a new strategy approach to the game. Malaysia had previously lost all 3 friendlies against Oman, with their last meeting ending in a 0-6 humbling for the Harimau Malaya in 2015. Joining Oman and Malaysia in Group D of the qualifiers are Kyrgyzstan and the winner of the playoff between Taiwan and Timor-Leste. Only the top 2 teams from each group will book a spot in the 2027 Asian Cup finals and compete in the 3rd qualifying round of the 2026 World Cup. Liverpool and Leicester City made final preparations and held training sessions ahead of a friendly in Singapore today. During a news conference held before a training session, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp said that team captain Jordan Henderson's recent departure from the team was a loss, but the team would move on. He added that they are looking forward to a super interesting season ahead.
It's always when you have big changes, first people want changes, and you have the changes, and everybody's worrying about the changes. So the problem with changes is you never know beforehand if it will work out. But we are really optimistic about it, and that's the nature of change, by the way. And so we are really optimistic about it and excited as well. My main impression I get so far in all sessions, the boys are really up to it, and they really mean business. I like it a lot.
Liverpool and Leicester City are scheduled to face off for a pre-season friendly today at 5 p.m. Innovations in technology must always be in line with one common goal of humankind, the betterment of human lives and all of our environment. Let's take a look at our selection of inspiring and amazing stories from around the world in our segment, World Around Us. Known as citizen scientists, volunteers use photographs to collect information on the numbers of the marine mammals in Brazil, helping researchers and scientists track the surging number of humpbacks in the area.
Julio Cesar Cardoso's project, Balia a Vista, founded in 2015, has largely contributed to the cause, enhancing whale lovers to participate in the spotting project. They photograph the whale's tails, which is the best way to identify them, like human fingerprints. No two tails are identical, and upload the photos onto the Happy Whale website, a global whale watching platform that uses image processing algorithms to match whale photos with scientific collections. There has been a dramatic increase in the number of whales off Ilha Bella's coast in recent years, and many now return to their original breeding grounds all along the Brazilian coast, where they used to be killed en masse for their blubber. Palazzo says the work of the self-funded citizen scientist volunteers is extremely helpful in the task of tracking the animals, as a lot of conservation projects are underfunded and lack resources. The all-electric Formula E season will conclude in London this weekend, with rookie Nissan driver Sacha Finestra vying for a top 10 finish. Born in France and brought up in Argentina, the 24-year-old has already been driving for more than 20 years, starting in go-karts at the age of 3, but says today's racing simulator technology can help turn a virtual passion into reality. He said it's been a great tool for racing drivers and also for people, young people, to experience what they feel, and maybe they realize it's their new passion. Finestras has already set 2 speed records in 2023, including the fastest lap in Formula E's history on city streets in Cape Town and the fastest ever lap of the world-famous Monaco race circuit in May, all after practicing on simulators. New research from Nissan shows nearly half of the UK population play video games at least twice a week, with esports the game of choice for 40% of them. A quadriplegic man underwent surgery to install brain implants that would help him live a normal life again. Keith Thomas went through a clinical trial which implanted microchips into his brain and developed artificial intelligence or AI algorithms to relink his brain to his body and spinal cord. The double neural bypass formed an electronic bridge that allowed information to flow once again between Thomas' paralyzed body and brain to restore movement and sensations in his hand. Feinstein Institutes spent months mapping Thomas' brain using MRIs to help pinpoint the areas responsible for both arm movement and for the sensation of touch in his hand. With that information, surgeons performed the 15-hour surgery, during parts of which Thomas was awake and giving the surgeons feedback. Thomas, 45, of Massapequa, New York, is the first human to use the technology. Innovative use of drone technology to monitor the health of a rainforest has seen a group of scientists and researchers from Switzerland reach the final of the X Prize Rainforest, a $10 million global environmental competition. The Swiss team used drones to collect environmental data samples without actually setting foot in the rainforest. They then analyzed the collected data and identified hundreds of plant and animal species. X Prize Rainforest is a global competition aimed at enhancing understanding of rainforests by encouraging the development of technology to monitor, measure, and assess the complex ecosystem. Environmental DNA includes traces of plants and animals in a particular area that prove an animal or plant lives in the area. The Swiss team developed a variety of probes suspended from drones to collect eDNA from the air and by making contact with the forest canopy. Airless tires, first device for lunar rovers, could make punctures a thing of the past on Earth and be more sustainable than traditional all-rubber tires. Originally developed by NASA and now commercialized for terrestrial use by the Smart Tire company, the tires are airless, durable, and will never go flat. The tyres have springy mesh design made of shape memory alloy that's elastic like rubber, yet strong like titanium. Tyre makers are under pressure to practically reinvent the wheel, with regulators turning their scrutiny to tyre pollution that's set to surge with the rise of electric vehicles and threatens to undermine those cars' green credentials. The Smart Tyre Company hopes to find a solution to the scourge of tyre pollution while tapping into an industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The company will release their first commercial product in the spring of 2024, an airless smart bicycle tyre. Separately, they are working on the latest rovers for NASA's Lunar Terrain Vehicle program. French fashion house Kenzo staged its first runway show in Shanghai on Friday. The men's and women's Spring 2024 collection was also showcased at the Paris Fashion Week in June. Dozens of models in dark blues and pastels paraded down the riverfront catwalk that took Shanghai's Oriental Pearl Tower as a backdrop as tourists took pictures. The Shanghai Runway Collection introduced new iterations of key Kenzo looks, aiming to create a symbolic yet natural East meets West bridge, according to Kenzo's website. Growth in the luxury goods industry has relied heavily on China and North America in recent years, but the latest economic figures suggest both markets may be starting to slow. Kenzo is owned by LVMH, the world's largest luxury group. Now, despite China's slowing economy, the future overall for luxury goods in China nonetheless continues to look bright.
Bagaimana mengundi? Buat semakan tempat mengundi dan pergi ke saluran yang ditetapkan. Masuk ke tempat mengundi apabila dibenarkan oleh polis yang mengawal. Serahkan MyCard dan slip saluran kepada kerani pengundian pertama. Tunjukkan kedua-dua belah tangan untuk diperiksa. Bergerak ke hadapan kerani pengundian kedua. Celupkan jari telunjuk kiri ke dalam botol dakwat pilihan raya. Dapatkan kertas undi daripada kerani pengundian ketiga. Tandakan pangkah pada ruang kosong bersebelahan nama dan simbol calon pada kertas undi. Masukkan kertas undi yang telah ditanda ke dalam peti undi. Keluar segera dari tempat mengundi setelah selesai. Laksanakan tanggungjawab anda.
Perlawanan bola sepak Liga Super 2023. Pertembungan sengit terus menggegar aksi perlawanan dalam memburu tahta kejuaraan. Ahad 30 Julai, Penang FC bertemu Sabah FC 8.30 malam di TV2 dan saluran sukan RTM. Saksikan juga secara penstreaman langsung di RTM Klik.
And with that, we reach the end of today's updates at noon. Our leading story for today, PM assures that the unity government is strong, stable and united. Do join us again tonight at 8:30 p.m. for more news on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. Till then, I'm Mohana Priya, Malaysia Madani, Tekad Perpaduan, Penuhi Harapan. Take care.